Release the Kraken!
Greetings, fellow game designers. Ron here at Lame Duck Studios, and today we are going to model our ship for our Space Invader game. Now, I've modeled a couple of these. We're going to take a different approach to this one. If you want to try the other technique, you should check out the video in the description, or maybe I'll put one up to wherever I'm pointing here. But without further ado, we're going to jump right in, and let's go ahead and set up our grid. We want to make sure that our grid is the right size for working in Unreal or Unity. So let's go up to Display, come down to Grid, and then go to the Options. In my options here, you can see that my grid size is set to 500 units, grid lines every 100 units, and my subdivisions are 10. And then you can pick an axis to make it easy to see where the middle of the grid is. Once you're happy with that, go ahead and hit Apply. Let's go ahead and drop in a plane, and there it is way down there. I'm going to come over to my polyplane settings. That's in the channel box. You can get that by clicking this little box here, or the channel box tab over here. Open up polyplane. I'm going to set this to 100 by 100. It's going to give me a good size right about there. That's going to make our ship about 1 meter by 1 meter. And then I'm going to come down to my subdivisions, width and height, and change that to 1. And that'll make it a little bit easier for me to see as I am working. So there we go. Let's come up to rendering, and I'll go down and grab the Lambert, which is the middle one here. You don't want one that has any reflection because it'll be harder to work on. So I hit Lambert, and I'll go to Lambert 2. I'll change this to ship reference. All right. Come down to color, and then go to the checker box right there. We're going to follow this to our path, so I'll go down to File, and then it'll drop into this window. We'll open the folder, and locate your images. And once you locate your ship image, go ahead and hit Open, and press 6 to bring up the color. Now, of course, if you're one of my students, you will be able to download this image. If you are following along and you want this, you can always grab it from the Patreon page. Or you can design your own and use that. All right, so you can see that our ships are loaded onto here, but it's kind of squished. So what we really want to do is to have a single panel per ship. So I'm going to go ahead and just select this, and I will duplicate it, so Control D. And then I will move one over, and I'll duplicate the other one, Control D, and move this one. Go ahead and grab one of them. It doesn't matter which one. We'll go up to UV. If you don't see the UV option, make sure you're in modeling. So UV editor. And you can see the UVs are laid out as a single square here. What I want to do is maximize the window. And I'm going to click this little image icon right here to turn my picture on. And what I need is for the UVs, this UV outline here, to be right over one of my ships. No big deal. I'll go into edge mode. And if I move this window down and grab an edge, and I start to move that edge, you can see it adjusts how the image is drawn. So I want this to be right about there. So I can hold down the X key, and then I can just drag the arrow and snap, and that'll get me something like that. That looks good for this one. I'm going to see if this size works for the big one. So I'll grab the whole thing. I'll go into face selection. I'll grab the face, and I'll just move this over this one. And you can see that this particular image, or this UV setting here, is a little bit tight. Looks like I can just barely fit in the window there. How about over here? Does that one fit? Looks like I'm in it. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, so now that I know that this will fit all 3 ships, I can then start laying this out. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this over my first ship, and I want to center it up so that the ship is in the middle of the line here. So I'll go to my top view, so that's spacebar to go into my 4 view, and then spacebar for my top, press 6 to bring the color up. And I will line up so that I can see my red line here. And then in my UV window, I'll just move this so it lines up center. That looks pretty good. So there's my front. And to make life really easy, instead of resizing this on the next two panels, I'm just going to go to object mode. I'll grab this one over here, and I'll just delete it off. I'll delete this one as well. I'll take this, I'll duplicate it again, and now the new one, if I select either, you can see has the same size UV panel. So I'll just go ahead and grab that, and I'll move this one. So face selection, and I'll move that over the next one. And I don't want to resize it this time, I would just want to make sure it's good in center. Looks pretty good. And then I will duplicate the panel one more time, so go to object mode, pick one, it doesn't matter, duplicate it, Control D, move off the new one, and we will move the UVs, so UV face, grab it, and I'll move it over the last one here. So now that I have all of those set up, I can close my UV window, go to object mode, and we'll start arranging these. So the front is actually, if we look at our Z arrow, Z is here, and you can look at the compass here. So this is forward. We want this one to face forward. So I'm going to hit the rotation tool, so E, and I'm going to rotate this. Let me go into my perspective view. We want to rotate toward the Z. So I'm going to grab this little the red wheel here, hold down J so I can snap rotate to the front, and then W to move. And I'm going to move that back. Now this has been rotated 90 degrees, so if I grab my channel box, you can see my X rotation is set to 90. And I'm going to move this back in my Z direction. So I'm going to go to my Z translate. And let's do minus 120. For this one, I want to rotate it facing the Z axis again. So I'll do X 90. But then I also want this one to face down the X axis toward the left. So in this case, this is going to be screen right, but it's going to be to the ship's left. So that is going to be on the Y axis. So I'll go down to my Y axis and I'll do 90. And now it's going to face down the middle of the screen there. Really good. And I want to move this back along the X axis. So if I go to my translate X, you can see it's already minus 107. I'm just going to do 120, so minus 120. And then I will take my top, I'll set this one to 0. And I want the top to be facing down the Z axis. So I will rotate it in the Y direction. So rotate Y. I'll do that 90. All right, so now they're all facing in the correct direction. Let's move this down in the Y translate. So Y translate, we'll do minus 120. And now we have this invisible box where our ship is going to be built from. Pretty handy. A couple other things we need to adjust. From my top view, we'll go in to the top. I want to make sure this is center on my grid. So I'm going to move the picture so that the picture is center on the line. And that looks pretty good. Now we're going to check our front view. So go to front. That's going to be this window in the bottom left here. Press 6 to bring up the color. I'll do the same thing on my side view. Press 6 to bring up the color. I just want to make sure, if I zoom out here, that the bottom of the ships, so my front bottom and my side bottom, I want to make sure that's on the grid line here. So I'm going to grab my front, and I'm going to move that up so that the bottom is on the grid line. Looks pretty good. I'm going to do the same thing for my side view. I'll grab that. I want to make sure that the side is on the bottom. Looks pretty good. And I also want to make sure on the side view that the top of my ship here is center on the grid line. So if yours is off center at all, just go ahead and adjust it so that the top of the ship is on the grid line. And that's going to make life a lot easier when all of the points line up. Looks pretty good. So now what I want to do is I want to name these and make sure that I can't mess them up. So I'll take my front. I'll go up to the name here. I'll go ahead and name this front ref. For my side, I'll go ahead and name that side ref. So side ref. And then for my top, I'll go ahead and name that top ref. So top ref. That way when I'm looking in my hierarchy over here in my outliner, I have my top, my side, my front. I'm going to take all of these. So grab all three. And then I'm going to group them. So Control G to group. I'm going to name the group references. So references. So now when I'm looking inside my hierarchy, I have a nice clean spot for all my references. And the last thing I'm going to do for this is I want to put this on a layer. So with all these selected, I'm going to go down to my Layers tab. So Layers. And we want to create a layer from selected. So Create Layer from Selected. Our layer pops in here. Make sure it works. Click the little V icon. So V. If you click it, make sure they turn on and off. If they don't, make sure you select all of them. And then right-click on the layer, and then Add Selected Objects. That's only if they're not working, but they should work after that. And then we want to use this last box here to set this to reference. So go ahead and click it till it's an R. And now we can't make a mistake and accidentally move our references. Awesome. So now our references are ready. We're going to save our project here, and then the next one we'll start modeling our ship. So come up to File. We'll do a Save As. And I'm going to name mine. You can see I already have one named here. This isn't the first time I've made this video. I'm going to go ahead and name it Hero Ship, and then I will save it. All right, so next one we're going to start modeling. So I'll see you then. So stay tuned, and I shall see you next time. Hey guys, thank you for checking out my channel. Misty and I both thank you. If you enjoyed that video you just watched, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Or if you want to support the channel, check me out on Patreon or pick up one of my books, Life and Times of Dinah Marton or The Guardian's Path of Ascension. Speaking of which, I'm converting The Guardians into a graphic novel / comic book series. Here is a sneak peek. My wonderful artist, Patrick, is doing a great job. I'm excited. I want to push this out as soon as possible. So definitely keep your ears and eyes open for that. I'll be making announcements as we get closer, and I'll post some shots of that as we go. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can check me out on Twitter. I guess now it's X. Who does that? It's BruceRF1 at Twitter, or at whatever the new thing for Twitter is. Anyway, hopefully see you there, and I'll see you guys next time.